A desert town, full of people, where the river is dissipated, cars are rare, and the sand creatures rule the roads. Welcome to Night Vale. Hello, listeners. Starting off tonight's regularly scheduled program, the government has advised all residents to stay inside, as meteors are set to demolish our town. If seen, don't dial emergency services. You're already as good as dead. Dialing these services will only negatively affect someone in a real emergency. And now, for the news. Old Man John radioed in the meteors on Tuesday night. However, the receptionist at NASA had just been fired. She got in trouble a few weeks beforehand for stealing snacks from the extraterrestrial-only room, as her actions nearly started an intergalactic war. There's no need for panic, though. Miss Moore's kindergarten class has improvised a complete and foolproof plan for taking on Night Vale's meteor and potentially new space friends. Just a reminder, don't forget to send your children with food and drinks for Friday's field trip. We'll be taking a trip to the Starkville Sheriff's Office to interact with Octavia County's most dangerous convicts. These maximum security inmates need the interaction to prepare themselves for NASA's plan to colonize Mars and conquer the Sand Creatures colony. Starkville Academy's soccer team mercy rode Louisville last night in a preseason expedition match. Starkville Academy's new international player scored all 10 goals in a matter of minutes as he levitated across the field. It was a sight to see. Some might even say the way he dribbled the ball was out of the ordinary. Every time he touched the ball, the crowd roared. Though there wasn't anyone in the stands, just birds chirping, yet it was the loudest it had ever been. Maybe the announcer was playing crowd noise over the broken speakers. The only people in sight were the black masked figures hiding their grim faces behind the half-dead bushes planted a few years ago before by Algernon's dead mother. Louisville's team wasn't even there. They were just competing in spirit, those poor souls. Kent's Catfish was awarded by the Mississippi Food and Health Association for having the best burgers in the state of Mississippi. People from all around the country came to see Kent's Flying Catfish and take a bite of Kent's famous non-existent burger. Though many people were surprised to be served a completely empty plate, Kent's never received a complaint or a bad review. The Flying Fish usually serenaded the customers into forgetting they ever ordered before snatching up the customer's cash. Nobel laureates, scientists, physicists, and even engineers have all tried and failed to understand Kent's supernatural catfish. Despite the pushback from some animal cruelty groups like PETA, local wildlife control has loved the implementation of the catfish into the workplace, with hopes of boosting the local economy and training additional catfish to work other jobs throughout the community. The Army National Guard has also looked into experimenting with Kent's Catfish for the military purposes, hoping to implement the use of AI and next-generation weapons of mass destruction. On Sunday night, the Night Vale School Board meeting, parents argued over the hiring and firing of a completely deaf teaching staff at the elementary school who was only able to communicate in ASL. This has raised concerns within the community, as no elementary students understand ASL, except for little Johnny. To be fair, he is deaf. The National Association of the Deaf, however, is arguing that the firing violates their civil rights. This type of discrimination is outrageous, assuming that big news organizations continue to cover the story, bringing traffic and economic growth to our town. Otherwise, Night Vale's 200-year-old judge, Hank Williams, will prosecute the deaf individuals for their inabilities. Frank's Laundromat closed last Friday. Customers reported there had not been any washers or dryers in the building for the past 5 months. Many customers suspected Frank of money laundering, as seen in many of today's movies. Frank is not a criminal, though. Upon reviewing his security footage, after opening the shop and leaving for the day, the adjacent laundromat would steal his machines for their own use and always return them before Frank ever appeared. And now for the weather. The temperature has been a blistering 100 degrees the past 10 days, despite the sun's disappearance. This has left astrologists completely puzzled. the sun will occasionally reappear, but just for a few minutes, dazzling any and everyone outside. This has resulted in multiple casualties and, in rare cases, permanent blindness. Please report all accidents to the local authorities for assessment, and be sure to keep a pair of sunglasses on you at all times. Good night, listeners. Good night.